This certainly has made a lot of your allies very alarmed on what happens next. We've had criticism from the US, we've had criticism from the EU. You've refused to back down. Is that your final word?
Central Bank of Kosovo made this regulation, so it's an independent state agency. It's not a decision of our government. And it was not made in January this year, but in December last year. Preparations were going on and everything was going smoothly. Precisely out of success for preparing for this new regulation, Belgrade has set an alarming tone with intention to cause ethnic tensions. Just like we have switched from car plates KM from Milosevic's time to new RKS, we're going to do this as well.
I mean, the concern is that a lot of people that you really rely on, your partners in the EU and the US, have taken this as a provocation. I mean, they say you're cracking down on Serb minority in northern Kosovo. You surely could call the central bank and say, like, politically, this is not a good thing. Let's reverse this.
I cannot do that because we are a democratic republic and independent state agencies are not subjugated to the government. That's why we're going to do a smooth transition. We're going to do a hotline where Serbs can call and complain for whatever is not okay according to them. But we cannot reverse this decision. So they asked for more time, and we're giving more time. And even our American and European partners now are saying that regulation is legal because it's fighting terrorist financing, illicit activities. But we should not be too hasty in like absolute implementation. And this is what we're going to do throughout this month of February.
Prime Minister, Kosovo is also preparing for municipal elections, right, in the north, which local Serbs boycotted last time, leading to the unrest that we saw in May. How will this, concerns with the currency affect those elections?
We have been giving social benefits payments to all Serbs of Kosovo who are our citizens. I'm not only Prime Minister of Albanians, even though Albanians are 93%. We have 4% who are Serbs. And thousands of families and tens of thousands of individuals receive payments in euro. We are not banning dinar. We're just formalizing it. We're just making things legal. Regarding these elections in the north,
they can't use dinar. So if you don't ban it, but they can't use it.
They can have dinars. And there are 10 commercial banks in Kosovo where, as means of payment, they can exchange into euro. Dinars were our currency during occupation in previous century. Since liberation in 1999, we had first Deutschmark, German mark. Yeah. Then from 2002, we had euro.
So, Prime Minister, what is your end game with Serbs in the north?
Well, we want them to integrate in the society, and vast majority of them have done so. They have Kosovar ID cards, they have Kosovar passports, they work together. The problem is not Serbs of Kosovo, the problem is autocratic regime in Belgrade, which is a Russian proxy. It's a client regime of Kremlin. And they are doing this pre-apocalyptic alarming in inciting ethnic tensions because they want to cause troubles in the Balkans.
Prime Minister, so how do you see the integration? What does that look like? You talked about IDs. How do you see it more concretely?
Almost 3 years ago, I won on this ticket of jobs and justice. I believe that justice integrates people, fairness in the institutions, social justice, and also court justice. But on the other hand, we are also providing jobs for people despite their ethnicity. Employment in Kosovo, in comparison to 3 years ago, increased by around 18%. And that's why we want all communities to benefit from the economic growth of Kosovo, which is over 6% of GDP in average in these last 3 years.
Prime Minister, a number of international backers, of course, have already withheld aid because of some of your actions. Will you continue to do this despite economic repercussions?
I want peace and security, but I want peace and security through democracy, through rule of law, and through constitutionality of our republic. So I'm not going to give up on one for the sake of the other.
How will you replace missing funds?
We are giving all our financing programs and social benefits, healthcare grants, for education, for pensioners, for retirees, to all Serbs, just like we do for the Albanians. In addition, they receive from Serbia some payments, and they can do that because Serbia can send dinars, but in the ATMs, they're going to receive euros. There will be this exchange from dinar to euro. We are not going to have any kind of punitive measures. We don't want to punish anyone. We want to help Serbs. I'm Prime Minister who wants people to have more money, not less money. And I think we're going to come out victorious from all this crisis, which has been caused by Belgrade, not by local Serbs.
But Prime Minister, there's an understanding, right, amongst international institutions that what you've done is antagonizing. And you had, when you were elected, promised a dialogue with the Serbs. So are you backing down on that promise, or what was this, a misunderstanding?
On the contrary, we have an agreement with Serbia. On 27th of February this year, it will be 1 year that in Brussels we made this basic treaty. The problem is that Serbia is not signing it and is not respecting it. So I think that appeasement of Serbia should stop from both Brussels and Washington, D.C. I believe that they are considering Serbia as a kind of irrational actor which has to be appeased. I think we need accountability, transparency, European Union and NATO for the entire Balkans, and Kosovo has no alternative to that.
Prime Minister, how important is it that you sign something sooner rather than later? We could see Donald Trump in the White House. He has been more supportive of Serbia.
I think it's important to do this as soon as possible, but then again, we cannot force Serbia. It is European Union and US who can do that. Meanwhile, Serbia is taking armament and ammunition from both Russian Federation and China, and they want American tolerance and EU money in addition.
But the way you're talking, Prime Minister, makes it very difficult, right, for the normalization to start. Is that, how would you assess the current relationship?
We have seen last year Belgrade agreeing to the text of agreements due to pressure of EU and US. So basically, pressure functions and works, but it has to be done by Brussels and Washington, D.C. We are the most democratic country in Western Balkans. And according to Freedom House, Transparency International, World Justice Project, when it comes to anti-corruption, when it comes to political rights and civil liberties, Kosovo is #1 among 6 countries of Western Balkans which still are not part of European Union.
I understand one of the linchpin is, of course, the Association of Serb Municipalities in Kosovo. How's that going?
That is now turned into so-called self-management of Serbian community, is Article 7 of Basic Treaty that we have done last year. It has also an implementation annex from March last year, but out of 11 articles, Serbia already violated 8 of them. And mid-December last year, Madam Prime Minister Brnabić from Serbia sent a letter to EU saying that they are basically withdrawing from the agreement.
Right.
So for me, it's very difficult to proceed further when they don't sign the agreement, don't respect it, they do violations, and finally they sent a letter where they say they don't obey to it anymore.
Prime Minister, tensions are high. How do you see the Balkans in terms of security in the next 10 years?
We wouldn't have these tensions if we would have de facto and de jure recognitions among all the countries. Serbia recognizes de jure Montenegro and Bosnia and Herzegovina, but not de facto. On the other hand, they do recognize us de facto, but not de jure. We need all the region into EU, into NATO, but for this reason, Belgrade has to put sanctions to Russian Federation and adhere to Western democratic values.
But Prime Minister, do you accept that maybe the dinar situation that you say the central bank has put in place is not ideal timing?
No, I think that it was long overdue. We need to legalize banking and financing. All financial institutions must have their own license from our republic, and that's what we're doing. So there will be no more sacks with cash dinar coming from Belgrade to Kosovo to destroy political pluralism and to finance terrorist organizations who killed our policemen on 24th of September last year.
Some institutions say that the timing is not perfect. But Prime Minister, thank you so much for your time, of course, for coming on Bloomberg with us. That was Albin Kurti, the Prime Minister of Kosovo.